Hello and welcome to the Irish Mammy channel, an impromptu video today where I just decided to pick up the camera, press record and work away because I'd finally got a break from all the rain. So I was just walking by this bed here and I noticed this cauliflower peeping out at me. I know I definitely have two cauliflowers in here. That one's quite yellow looking, but it's perfectly edible. This one, on the other hand, is gone a little bit too far. So this is what you don't want to happen to your cauliflower. However, it will still be fully edible. Some of it may have to go to the chickens, but for the most part it is edible. I'm not going to let it go to waste anyway, that's for sure. So I'm just going to go on and go through all of this bed now. Actually, with the net on it, it seems to have fooled me into thinking nothing was ready yet. So I'm going to go through now everything and harvest whatever I can. Unfortunately, it's a great day for butterflies. I'm not sure you'll see a few moving about there. So I'm going to try and get this done as quickly as I can. Okay, so here's a look at what I've harvested out of that bed, raised bed. So this was quite a bit messy. All the darker outer green leaves were all well chewed on and quite tough. It was supposed to be a hearting cabbage anyway, for more like cole, so like a white cabbage type variety. I harvested this one as well. It was stuck in under everything else. It didn't do well. So I might as well take it out and leave room for the rest of the plants to grow on. And again, the two cauliflower, when they're trimmed up, looking pretty swish. So cauliflower will have to get a good soak before it's... I always soak cauliflower and broccoli in salty water just in case there's any creepy crawlies hiding in among the florets. But I have a nice wee harvest there from just two heads. They are pretty much giant heads of cauliflower. And then you've seen me tidying up the leaves. There are 4 red cabbage remaining in here. Actually, I think there may be 6 plants, but there's only 4 of them really growing to any extent. They're starting to heart up nicely now, and I said I'd leave them to develop further, because red cabbage do generally develop good heads. What I did do was go through and clean out any weeds that had got out of control, and then lower leaves off the brassicas of the cabbages that were remaining, because they just turn yellowy and basically pick up different fungal things from fungal diseases from the ground, from the soil. So it's handier to just go through and clear them now, and they'll grow on now into the autumn to provide a good big head of red cabbage. So there's the trimmings and weeds and the trimmings then of the cabbage and everything, and these won't go to waste. These are going to go to the hens. The hens absolutely love any type of cabbage plant: broccoli, cauliflower, turnip, or swede leaves, cabbage leaves, and then your oriental lettuces like mizuna and mabuna and all those that generally I only grow in the winter time. They just devour them, and of course they're a great source of iron for the hens as well. So the next bed, long overdue harvest, are these onions. These were my overwintered onions. You can see there's 2 of them bolted. So these variety were grown from seed. It's the first time I've grown overwintered onion from seed. Of course you can get sets in the autumn, and it will soon be time to order the sets again. That's the thing about onions, they're nearly a year-round plant between overwintered onions and then spring planted onions. Of course I sow seeds for spring planting. I sow my seeds in late December, early January. These are the seeds that I sowed in January, the onion seeds that I sowed in January. So they're coming on nicely as well. Of course the long hot spell of weather has caused some of the foliage just to bend over, but it's not at the neck of the foliage, so further leaves have continued to grow upward and stay upright, which I'm happy to see. So of course we've had enough rain in the last 3 weeks to keep me out of the garden for a start, but to bring everything back if it hadn't just gone too far. So thankfully my onions have survived. The only thing is I may, even though I was watering these, but I may see some bolting. However, because these are sown from seed, I know I will definitely see less bolting than had they been sown from sets, which many people do, sow onions from sets, and they tend to bolt much quicker if there's any sort of a dry hot spell at all. So fingers crossed we'll not get much bolting. So far no evidence of it, but that's not to say it won't happen yet. Anyway, now to get on with this. I think the strategy for this is going to be to remove the mypex. I have several beds to clear here in this raised bed area. So I have beetroot here ready to harvest. Not sure if I'll get to that today, but you will see it in this video. I have spinach that just bolted on me here. I did get some harvests of spinach, and then there was some radish interplanted, and the more pink flowers are the radish that was interplanted or intersown along with the spinach. So you can see loads of those cabbage white butterflies out now. Of course the rain kept them away for a good while, but they're out in force now with the first sign of a good day. Having said that, the good day mightn't last very long, but it's long enough to get out in the garden for a wee while. So since I am under weather clock, I'm going to get on with these onions and get them harvested. Okay, well, I'm definitely super impressed with my onion harvest. I'm very excited to bring you up close and show you just how wonderful this harvest is. So here we are, very impressed with these onions. Absolutely delighted. I mean, just for scale, there's my hand and there's the onion. And they are all, almost all, as big as that. One or two smaller ones, but even still, I mean, that will fill the palm of my hand. One more small one, and honestly, that's it. That is all the small onions. Super impressed with these. I'm actually going to go through and count them. I'll put it on the screen. Can't remember the variety of these. It may be Sensiu yellow. I will put the name on the screen as well. But now is the time to sow these. If you want onions like this, sow them now in a tray, and they will be ready. So we're at the end of July now, we're almost. We have less than a week left in July, and come mid to late October, your seeds will have grown enough to plant out for overwintered onions. Super impressed with these. And again, much better than any grown from seed, or much better than any grown from set, without doubt. And of course, my secret weapon, blood, fish and bone. And again, they were planted into a bed that had got a fresh layer of compost as well, if you recall that. So between the fresh layer of compost, blood, fish and bone, fed twice with blood, fish and bone, that's the secret to getting these humongous onions. Now I do want to state, overwintered onions do not store as well as the spring planted onions. So these, when they get cured and dried out, will get used first. Now, you know, I had one harvest already this year, a few weeks back, so between all I'll be using all my overwintered onions first. Come Christmas time, these may start to sprout again. In that case, I will start to chop them up for the freezer, and then I will take into my spring planted onions, which are here, and I have more out in the row crops out in the field, which you can see way out there, not growing terribly well out in the field again this year. More my fault than anything else. But between my overwintered onions and this harvest, I probably will have enough to see me through to early to mid-spring at least, which will be better than last year. So it's all a bonus. Definitely super excited with these. So just a quick word on curing onions. These onions need to be cured in order to help them to store for longer. Like I said, they don't store as long as the spring planted ones, but they will store well enough if they're cured properly. So when I'm harvesting these today, I won't be removing any of the green foliage off the top of them. I mean, it has all fallen over and looks very scraggly, but I won't be removing it off the top of them until it's completely dried out. They'll be set. I will leave them lying then in a covered area, probably going to the she shed back there. I'm running out of room everywhere else. So they'll be left out in the she shed, where they will have light. There's a clear roof on the she shed, so they'll have light, but they'll be kept dry, and that'll help dry them out just that little bit faster. So minimum 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll be bringing them inside when I'm happy enough that the necks are fairly dry. I will bring them indoors then, well, into the shed to darkness, where they'll be where they'll continue to cure, and they'll be stored there until they're needed, or until I'm chopping them for the freezer, whichever comes first. Okay, so while the Rain seems to be holding off. I'm going to get a start on clearing these two beds out behind me here. I'll just take you around and show you what I had in them. So in here was my Cosberg lettuce, which you can see it was actually harvested. It might not look like it, but what happened was it was cut off at the base and then regrew some more leaves, which honestly probably aren't too bad. I might actually save some of those. They seem to be alright. I'll give them a taste and see if they're bitter. After that then I had a cut and come type of lettuce in behind, which was basically full of rocket, and rocket just goes crazy, and I've probably a load of seeds dropped in that bed now, so I'll have rocket growing forever and amen. Lovely weeds growing in at the back, another weed there. Yeah, so it's pretty much just gone crazy. I do have peas in at the back. They were supposed to be climbing on this trellis. They're all flopped over. I might try and get them tied up a wee bit and harvest whatever's on it. Even though they've gone too far, whatever's on it, or most of them will have at least. So they'll probably be going to the chickens as well. But I'll leave the plants tied up. They'll produce more flowers, I hope, and therefore more vegetables. But as you can see at the minute, like, that's the walkway between the two beds, and it was pretty much impossible to get into them. I mean, you can't even hardly see them. There they are, just hanging in there at the back. And you can see loads of lovely purple pods on that one, and there is another few pea plants that's sown back along here, and again supposed to climb the trellis. Never were tied up and they didn't cling on themselves, so they're hanging around somewhere as well over the side of the bed. So both of these two beds are going to get cleared out. They will be resown. I'm probably not going to get to that today, but sometime in the next week or week and a half, certainly before the end of July, I'm hoping to have both of these, actually the three of these, resown. 4. I have another bed over there for sowing. The one I'm just have to clear with the onions. 4 beds for resowing. I could actually even start harvesting carrots down below and resow that bed as well. We'll see how we get on. For now, these 2 beds is the goal if the rain stays off. So I'm going to try and get round to harvesting some of these beetroot today. They're definitely a nice size, and I don't want them to get much bigger. I'm not sure if they're like that the whole way through the bed, but certainly this one on the end is. So I'll pick and choose between them. If they're all decent size, or the majority decent size, I'll harvest them all. Otherwise I will pick out the big ones, just kind of by twisting them out. My lovely hands, clean hands at this stage. But they're definitely looking really good down there. Okay, so I'm delighted to get my beetroot harvest there. A good crate full of beetroot. Lots of beetroot relish in my future. I won't get to it this evening, so they'll have to get a garden wash and straight into the fridge, where they'll keep for, well, probably months actually. I'm hoping they'll not be there for months. They will degrade over time the longer they're there, so the sooner I get them used up the better. And beetroot relish is something that I was hoping to get topped up on this summer with. And if I have more left then, I still have plants. Where am I? I still have plants in the ground here, plenty of plants. Now they're still quite small, but over the next couple of weeks they will grow probably even quicker now because they've got thinned out so well. So any remaining beets will just be turned into pickled beets, and maybe if I have enough I might do a round of pressure canned plain beets that aren't pickled at all. So that's it for today. Lots of harvesting and clearing out to be done today. It's great to finally get back and get that cleared out. I've been looking at that out through the window in the lashing rain this last couple of weeks, knowing all the work that needed to be done and not able to get to it. It's a bit disappointing. So I'm glad to get it done. Like I said, I have lots of garden beds. Oh, that was my final harvest as well, by the way. Turn you around. That was my final harvest of the Mange 2 peas. Now obviously they're gone past being Mange 2 peas, but I'll trim them up and see how they come along. If I take the strings down off the outside of them, they might still be perfectly edible. So for now I am going to start planning what goes into these beds next. I'm hoping carrots. Probably one of these beds was full. This one here actually that I have the beets sitting on was full of caterpillars and green flies, so definitely not one for putting Swedes in there. Either French beans or carrots, and most likely I'll go with carrots because it's nice fluffy soil as well, so it'll probably do good for the carrots. But I do want to get Swede in, possibly that bed there, and like I said, I'm in two minds about the French beans. I have one bed open there now for French beans. I'm not sure if I go ahead with that. I still have two beds out in the field empty where I harvested garlic and onions. So lots of space coming available, but my planting options are going down. Now I have lots of cabbages and broccoli and cauliflower and all those sort of brassica plants. I have lots of those sown so that I can stick them in, and they'll have had a head start. But with the butterflies mad this time of year, this is what really prevents me from getting a lot of my brassica plants. So I'm going to sit down and do some planning on that, figure out what the best options are, get to preserving my beetroot and planning what else has to be harvested now in the next few weeks as well. Hopefully potatoes coming up very soon. I've said already I took my first harvest of early potatoes in the polytunnel. I'm hoping my next lot will be soon ready now, the earlies that are planted outside. Many people will have got their earlies already, of course. If you remember, mine were very late going in. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe as well if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.